And welcome to the final lecture of Section 5, where we're going to look into our actual scanning process through the charts, how we identify patterns, and how we alert for when those patterns are potentially breaking out. So the key here is to pick what works for you, pick your process. And we're going to show you what we do in this particular lecture, but every investor is going to have a slightly different process for finding patterns, depending on their goals, time frame, the markets they want to trade, etc. So for example, you might only be a stock guy or only want to trade stocks, or you might want to trade futures, FX, stock, everything. And it's all up to you on what you really want to do, and you got to develop your own style as you go. So take our process and tweak it to your liking. So for software, and our charting platform is done through TradingView, which is a cloud-based application. We get almost every single market through it, and it also has a cloud alert system, so we can send alerts directly to our phones or emails. And then for stock screens, we use YCharts and FinViz. So for macro, we don't scan for macro stuff because we just have a set watch list of all the macro products. So all the big futures, equity indices, rates, commodities, FX, those are set watch lists in our TradingView platform, and we're looking at those constantly every single week. And we primarily look at them on the weekly time frame because we don't want to get bogged down by smaller time frame patterns. And then when we see something of interest, we'll just set an alert on there. And when it breaks out, we'll look at the chart and see if we're going to want to take an entry. For stocks, we have a bull and bear list. And what we do is we scan down a bunch of different stocks to find what the best momentum candidates are in the sectors of our interest. And the sectors of our interest depend on what our macro convictions are and what we're looking at from a fundamental perspective. And we usually do this scan about once a quarter, and then we scan results manually on a weekly basis on the weekly time frame from a chart perspective, and then we place alerts on interesting areas of the chart, usually around breakout areas when we're looking to possibly enter a trade. So for an entry, when the alert triggers, we'll evaluate the breakout in the daily time frame, and we usually enter at the end of the week. Sometimes we do choose to get into a daily breakout move if we have extremely strong conviction on it. But after that alert triggers, we typically it's sent to our cell phone or one of our email applications, and then we'll batch them and look at the very end of the day and see if it's ready to pull the trigger. We almost always execute at the end of the day. And if we miss the execution at the end of the day, sometimes we'll carry over and execute it the very next morning. So here's TradingView, and you can see on the right side here we have all of our watch lists. So Spot FX, here's the bear and bull watch lists, commodity ETFs, cryptos, energy, FX futures, ETFs for global developed markets, emerging markets, all sorts of these. And what we do every single week is we simply click on a category, change the chart to weekly, and just start rolling through an analysis. So we'll go through the charts, and some of these will have markings from earlier analysis. And for example, this was a pattern we took after Trump got elected, and we broke out of a wedge, and we hit that trade to the long side and wrote it up to a target hit. But we'll just go through and see if we find anything interesting. And we're looking for stuff that pops out on the chart, and we don't want to fall prey to Rorschach analysis. So if nothing looks interesting right off the bat, we just go on to the next one. So we can do the same thing on, say, grains. So we just look at wheat, anything interesting, scroll through. Now, say we found something interesting on a chart. Let's say it's this soybean meal consolidation pattern here. And we say, hey, this looks like a decent consolidation pattern. We might be interested in getting a break above those weekly highs. We would simply just set an alert here, and on this platform you just right click to add an alert, and it will automatically alert us and let us know when price breaks above that area. So that saves a bunch of time and energy of not having to look at the charts constantly on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis. We can just batch chart viewing and look at it usually on a weekly basis, and then let the alerts do the heavy lifting for us during the week. And then for stocks, we have bull and bear lists, and we source stocks from all different methods, primarily based off of a few momentum scans we have, but it also gets filtered further by what type of macro themes we're looking at, what type of sector themes we're looking at, and these just get changed out. So these lists are constantly getting changed. But it's the same, as far as scanning goes, it's the same process as the macro instruments. So we just quickly scroll through here. You can see some markings from old analysis. And it's just a pretty simple scanning process. This shouldn't be something that really takes a lot of time. And remember, we're looking for patterns that instantly jump out at you. We're not looking for stuff that's convoluted.